March, and we're at Druids Heath Library talking to the Wives group as part of the Bookmarks project about libraries and people's thoughts about libraries and what libraries mean to them. Could I begin, just have a general round chat. What are people's earliest memories of coming to a library?
Mine was when I was very young. I mean, I'm 80 now, and right from when I was young, I used to go to King's Heath Library and continued to go to libraries, brought the children up to read books.
Yeah.
And then when this opened, I brought my children here and continued to come here for many years.
Do you remember how old you were, or roughly how old you were when you first started going to King's Heath Library then?
I would say we'd be about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That's when my mum used to take us. But,
did you go with the school at all?
I don't recall going with the school actually.
I don't think people did then, did they?
No.
It was just with your parents.
No.
What about other people?
I used to go to King's Heath one. I was round about 5, 6, that sort of age. Used to go down there a lot. But then gradually this opened, when you do more up here. Like I've been to Yardley Wood Library for Tai Chi lessons that they used to do down there until the lockdown.
So it's generally been local libraries that you've gone to?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I went out to King's Standing when I lived out at King's Standing. I was small.
Yeah.
Hawthorne Road. And I went there. And I've never seen so many books in my life, and it's absolutely fascinating. That's where I found a lot of books and wrote.
Oh right, so it had a big impact on you.
I think the beauty of a library is you can come and you can choose a book for free.
Yeah.
And it takes, I think it was about four books home, I think.
Can you remember when you first came to libraries as children, what were the sort of books that you used to read?
You're going back too far now.
Yeah, if I had asked that question, I'd have a hard time actually.
Little Women and
Oh yeah.
ones like that, really, wasn't it?
I think Catherine Cooks and books.
Feeling like, was it the
Yeah,
famous Five?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
in those days, you were allowed 3, but you could have 2 reading books and one had got to be like a reference book.
Yeah.
I remember that. So you should just pick anything up for a reference book.
yeah.
How often did it change then?
3 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Was it 2? I thought it was 3. And then you had to start paying. Get your hand wrapped.
Yeah, if you didn't fetch them back, wasn't it? Well, I'm originally from Wales, so I used to go to the library at home for myself and for my grandmother for books when I was quite young, really.
Oh, so you got books out for your grandmother?
My grandmother, yeah, because she couldn't get to the library, and there was no books for them in them days like we have today, was there?
Like you're saying now.
So I used to have to go and collect books for her as well as myself.
With libraries, it always had to be quiet.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't remember magazines.
Sorry,
When,
sorry, Jan.
No.
I think the
But
most
when-
words the librarian used to use.
Yeah. When I came to live up here in Birmingham in 1976, I came here, and I used to have to come to this library. My husband used to read 8 books a week, so he used it quite a lot.
Yeah.
We all used to meet up in the church down a little bit further down the road, but that's closed.
the Methodist Church got closed.
Been sold, so we've migrated to the library now.
Do you find it a good space to actually read?
It's
It's
nice
nice.
actually.
We quite like it.
These are didn't have to be full sentences, didn't have to use colons and semicolons or that thing just yet, but yeah, just keep it right.
I've always been involved in the library ever since I can remember. We moved here when I was 2.5, and my father, the first thing he did was join the library because he didn't think that you should buy books when you could borrow them from the library. So I used to come with him, and so then I got my own blue ticket to go into the children's section, and so I spent many a happy hour in there. But then I sort of read everything in the children's section. I was an avid reader. I was always reading. So was my father, if it comes to that. So I read everything in the children's section. And I couldn't have adult tickets because I wasn't old enough. So my dad used to let me have 2 of his tickets. And I think they were very careful what they allowed me to borrow. I didn't get quite free rein in the adult section, but then, you know, the library was very selective what books it stocked anyway at that point, because we're looking at 1960s. So yeah, I graduated, had my own ticket, and I could come when I liked, take what I liked off the shelves, and I used to come all the time, especially when I got old enough and I was able to come on my own. School holidays, all sorts of things, and didn't have to be an activity. Just being in the library, just be books, was good enough for me.
Do you come from a family of readers?
My father was, my mum not so much, but my father was. Yeah. If he was quiet, we knew he was sitting with a book somewhere. Yeah. But he didn't like female authors. He only tended to borrow books by men, which was a bit odd, but there you go, a man of his time. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, you didn't tend to have mother and baby groups and things. Libraries were very quiet places at that point. You came to borrow a book or reference, no internet. If you wanted to look something up, you quite often had to come and look it up at the library in a reference book or a dictionary or whatever. So yeah, that's how it started. And then I think, like most people, you get to an age where I was at university, although I was still at home. I was at university, I used their library, and I sort of stopped using the library. I think a lot of people do. There's a certain age where you just don't really think there's a reason why you should. And then as I got older, and I suddenly, and I was still coming in with my parents, who were still using the library. And then I got more interested in the library and how it operates, and it got computers, and it was all a bit exciting, a bit different. So I started coming again, but I really got involved with it when they were renovating Stirchley Baths, which is next door, and they got a heritage lottery grant, which meant they had to do local history. So we set up I was one of the people that was set up a small local history group, which first met here in the library in the children's section, because the baths were still being renovated. And so we used the children's section, and the librarians very kindly stayed for an hour or two after time so that we could have the place to ourselves. Then we got involved in Heritage Open Days in September, and that's when we gathered together what information, photographs, whatever we could find about the library so that we could share the library with other people.
So you know a lot about Stirchley Library's history then?
A fair amount. I must admit, every year, because we only do it once a year, so every year I have to look it up. I can never remember what date it was built, for example. But the history group is still going, meets once a month in the baths next door. And last year we had a talk by Duncan Cadbury, one of the Cadbury families. and we took a photograph of him next to the foundation stone because the land that the library's on was donated by Cadbury's. So he very kindly stood there next to the stone. Yes. Yeah, they donated the baths, the land for the baths as well. It was, I think it was one piece of land, because originally there was apparently a garden attached to the library. The library was built first, and apparently there was a garden attached to it. But I suspect they built the swimming baths instead.
So there's quite a legacy of Birmingham philanthropists, I guess, and libraries.
Yes, although this was Kings Norton, because at the time this was built, this was Kings Norton Urban District Council, and so various people were involved in the Kings Norton Council. So this one and Selly Oak were built at a similar time, using a grant from Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie, which most people I think have an idea is an American entrepreneur, well, Scottish, but made his money in America, and set up charitable funds to build libraries. And this is a Carnegie library.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And originally, and I haven't seen, I'm sure I have seen a photo somewhere, but I don't know where. The entrance had railings around it, and over the entrance there was a metal arch with a lamp in the middle, and he said if you had his money to build a library, you had to put the lamp above the doorway as the light of knowledge, so people coming in would know they were coming into a place of knowledge.
So it's the 1st of April 2025 and we're in Stirchley Library. There's a children's story time going on, as you can probably hear in the background, and we're talking to Patrick Baird this morning. Patrick, can I begin by asking you what your earliest memory of libraries is?
Libraries, even before I even became a member of the staff. I remember that when I was about 3 years old, my mum took me down to King's Heath Library, and I became a member there. She joined me in, and I used to go there for my picture books. And we used to go down to King's Heath quite regularly, about once every fortnight or so. So I suppose I've been connected with libraries all my life.
Yeah. Can you remember what you thought of King's Heath Library in those days when you were little?
No, I think I was too young to remember. To me, it was just a place where we had our books from. So no.
It doesn't. You just it was just a place you went with your mother. When did you start going to libraries on your own?
Eventually, because I started to go to King's Norton Library when I was about 10, I suppose, and I used to go there. We were told by some of our teachers at school that we ought to go to the Central Reference Library to do some research for various homework projects. So I took myself off to Ratcliffe Place, as it was in those days, and there was this magnificent hallway and staircase leading up to the library itself, and it absolutely terrified me. I got to the top of the stairs and I got to the door, and I just could not go in. I don't know why. I kept imagining that all these people think, "What are you doing here?" And I thought that's all the library was for the very upper class echelons of society, rather than people like myself. So I never actually went into the main reference at all. I didn't go there until I actually started working there.
What sort of books, when you were young, can you remember what sort of books you used to get from the library?
I love fiction. I love science fiction. And funnily enough, one of my favourites, and I hadn't realised who he was at the time, Patrick Moore.
Oh, right.
Wrote a number of stories for children and young people, and I like those very much indeed.
Right. And so...
it's awful. You know, I mean, to think that this could stop being a library makes me feel slightly sick. Especially when you see what's happened to Selly Library, where they've closed it and without any plan whatsoever to do anything with the building. And they're such beautiful buildings. It is just so sad. Hopefully that won't happen here. We're all working really hard, and it is a well-used library, I think. And we'd really like it to be open more days, and possibly again a couple of evenings a week where people can, because we're so close to the station here, people could come off the train on their way home from work and pop in, and on their way home, which I think they quite often did before. But obviously, you know, 5 o'clock closing, it doesn't give you much time, an opportunity to do that. And definitely we want to keep it open Saturdays.
Yes, I'm a big book smeller in general, but yeah, the sort of the musty documents, because it's not paper quite often, it's vellum and things like that, so it just has a different smell, and I think sometimes it is just the fact that it's decomposing very, very, very slowly, but it's not an unpleasant smell, it's just the smell of something sitting around for a long time waiting to be looked at. Yeah.
So what does that, when you smell that smell, what does that do for you? Where does it take you?
It's very homely. It's the smell of going to somewhere else. So when you doing archival research, you find new worlds, new stories, new ideas, new people. So it's the smell of, like the smell of a book. It's a similar kind of smell. You just know you're going to be taken somewhere.
I take a sweetie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, today it is Saturday the 29th of March and we're at Selly Library. So Lucy and Rosie.
Rosie, yeah.
Thank you so much for agreeing
thank you for asking us.
to be interviewed. Yeah, you were at the poetry workshop today.
Yes.
How did it go?
It was lovely. I love poetry. I'm an English teacher, so I've got kind of an ingrained love of poetry. Very, very appreciative of that little event, and go and have a look and be creative. Yeah, it was great.
And did you write some poetry?
Yes, me and my friend wrote a little poem about a deer. She was doing a picture of a deer, and we came up with lots of words that rhymed with deer, and wrote a poem about a deer coming to the library for some peace and quiet.
Deer?
But then it wasn't very quiet, was it, in the library? Because there's lots of people laughing and talking and running around.
Deer?
Deer. You know an animal, deer?
Deer?
Yeah.
Deal.
Deal. Yeah.
That rhymes?
It does, well, sort of.
Did you write deal?
We didn't rhyme deal, we rhymed deer and here and some other words I can't remember.
Chia?
This is Sam, it's my daughter, my son, Sam. I'll read the poem, yeah. Solar eclipse. Make the most of it. It doesn't happen often. These little moments, planned and unplanned, seen through little holes in paper or a colander. Look now, up at the sky, and simply through your eyes. Everything that is precious can be seen with your own eyes. Isn't that nice? And if we hold the paper with the hole over it, can you see? Is the sun still covering the the moon still covering the sun?
Tiny.
It's tiny. It's a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, look. See the shape of it?
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
Lucy, what would be the impact of the closure of this library or the reduction in hours access library?
Cafe first before we buy the book.
People would lose the opportunity to share books and share a space and have encounters with people and ideas that they wouldn't otherwise have. As a community, would be a lot poorer without the libraries.
And to you personally?
Well, I would feel a grief at losing that. I feel lucky that I can go into a big bookshop and buy books for my children, but I'm aware that not everybody is as lucky as that, and I would feel a grief if it was decided that that's not valued enough to keep, because it so clearly should be. And I think that the library represents me, and I'm proud of being represented by the library, and I wouldn't like to lose that.